Do you know much about this?
No, it's not that. I'm trying to word it in a way that
this is the real agenda now.
This is a dark topic. I explain what I mean. The former Qatari Prime Minister Hamad bin Jassim put out a tweet one day where he said there is a Gulf state that is buying land from the Palestinians and giving it to the Israelis. Now I thought because Qatar and UAE don't like each other, it might be exaggeration. A few friends of mine came back from Palestine a few months ago, and I asked them about it, and they said that they've realized that they have friends who have sold land to Arabs, and then the next day they've seen Israeli settlers turn up on that land with the title deed. So this isn't settlers occupying the home. This is settlers saying we bought the land because it was given to us by the Arab who bought the land from the Palestinians. I sat once, so my job, for those who don't know, is basically I advise companies how to navigate political environments. For example, all this week I've just been in meetings with clients every morning because of the time difference with the US, where they've said, look, we have our ships, they're approaching the Red Sea, should they cross, and when will this Houthi threat disappear? Because right now we're losing millions and that. Or they will say, for example, Erdogan passed a law in 2013, no alcohol after 10 p.m. An alcohol company will say, this will result in a fall of 35% of our profits. We want to know, will Erdogan win next year or not? If he's going to win next year, we'll tone down, we'll reel back our alcohol sales. When Qasem Soleimani was killed in 2019, all the companies, they were saying, will there be war between Iran and the US? Because we have our operations. We don't want to get caught up. It will cost us 50 million to roll down our operations. We really don't want to do it. So we need to be certain there's going to be war before we make the decision. And then you tell them there's going to be no war. That's my job basically as a political analyst. Some of my clients are foreign ministries of Western governments. And I sat once in a room with diplomats, in a closed door room, as part of the consultancy process. And I was asked a question, as an independent expert, not that I claim to be an expert, but that's what they said, it's not me. They said, do you think that Saudi Arabia would hand over Al-Aqsa to the Israelis? I said, no, that sounds ridiculous. They said, because there's something that we find quite puzzling. What is it you find puzzling? When we talk to our Israeli counterparts, they've told us this is a done deal. Like when they speak about Al-Aqsa being handed over to Israel, they don't say there's maybe or we're negotiating. They talk about it like it's already a done deal. So we're quite confused about, this idea. Is that what the Saudis have said? Is that what the UAE have said? And the reason why I was shocked by it was not because it's the first time I've heard it, but because if you remember, there was an attempted coup in Jordan last year where King Abdullah arrested his half-brother, and he arrested Saudi's man in Jordan, who was once untouchable. And then there was sort of a diplomatic crisis between. And there's also been reports in the Arab media as well, like for the last couple of years, that bin Salman, the Saudi crown prince, has been pressuring Jordan to share the custodianship of Al-Aqsa. So for those who don't know, the king of Saudi Arabia is Khadim al-Haramain al-Sharifain, the Mecca Medina, the custodian of the two holy mosques, and King Abdullah of Jordan is the custodian of Al-Aqsa. Bin Salman has been pressuring Jordan to hand over the custodianship of Al-Aqsa to Saudi and UAE as a joint tripartite thing, in the hope that he'll take it as well. When you put what these European diplomats have said, and this immense pressure on Jordan from the Saudis, and the de-Islamization process in Saudi Arabia, and the fatwa coming out of Saudi Arabia, which is don't talk about Gaza because it's a fitna. And I have a friend who's going to Umrah. I won't say who, so they let him through Jeddah. But when he was in Istanbul, he told my wife that, tell Sammy that I received a WhatsApp from the tour group. They told us, don't bring kafiyas to Saudi Arabia, and don't record yourselves making dua for Gaza. And I told my wife, I can't go in a room and tell people this is what's happening. When I was in LA last month for a convention, I had dinner with a group of people, and I said to them, guys, I'm hearing that this is what's happening. And one person on the other side of the table went, no, it's not a rumor. I'm going to Umrah next month. Here's the WhatsApp. And the WhatsApp says, it's with a heavy heart that we inform you that we've been told by the Saudi authorities, no kafiyas, no recordings. And even, I don't know if you saw today, from the time of this recording, Turkey, the two Turkish teams were supposed to play in Saudi Arabia. The teams wanted to unfurl a banner of Turkey stands in support of Gaza. And they want to put a quote from Ataturk. The Saudis have said, if you're going to unfurl a banner of support for Gaza, we won't allow you to play the game in Saudi Arabia. Jared Kushner, 2 weeks or 3 weeks after October 7th, was in the heart of Saudi Arabia at the Davos in the Desert Forum, saying at a keynote speech that the Palestinians wanted to ruin normalization between Saudi and the Israelis, and they will fail in this. And the Saudis didn't respond to it. They allowed him to say it in the heart of Saudi Arabia. And when Kushner came back to the US, he told The Hill or CNN that as a Jew, I feel safer in Saudi Arabia than I do on the US campuses. Meaning that he didn't receive any backlash over what Israel is doing, but he received backlash over what Israel is doing in the US. He didn't receive it in Saudi, but he received it in the US. Oman closed its airspace to Israeli planes or the like. Saudi still hasn't closed its airspace to the Israelis or the like. The point being is, going back to your question, when people are suggesting that there is a possibility that the Saudis and UAE will entertain the prospect of allowing Israel to have their way with Al-Aqsa, I think that based on these dynamics, there is a very real possibility, and this isn't me saying it. When the Saudi ambassador went to meet Mahmoud Abbas in Ramallah, in the West Bank, the Reuters reported, so I don't know, you remember Bin Salman's interview with Fox News where he said, you know, we're getting closer to normalization every single day, and he says we're willing to accept anything that makes life easier for the Palestinians. Doesn't talk about Palestinian state. Reuters reported that the Saudis had informed the Americans that as long as they get a NATO-style security agreement and nuclear technology, because they don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon and they don't have one, and support for Vision 2030, they are willing to set aside the demand for a Palestinian state. And then they invited the Palestinian Authority to Riyadh and offered a big cash package, and then they sent their Saudi ambassador to Ramallah. The Saudi ambassador wanted to go the whole way and pray in Al-Aqsa, to sort of say that this is being legitimized religiously. And the Palestinians told him, we will not let him set foot in Al-Aqsa because we know the Saudis are about to betray us. So I'm saying, my point is, even the Palestinians are aware that something ugly is afoot with regards to this idea of Saudi seeking custodianship over the Al-Aqsa Masjid. And so, to answer your question, I am very uneasy to hear European diplomats tell me that the Israelis are telling them that normalization will mean that Al-Aqsa is handed over to them and that they will have their way with it. I don't know if it will happen. All I'm saying is, if these senior diplomats are saying it, somebody is saying something somewhere, and the Saudis are not doing enough to rebut it. Because they could have said to me, Israelis are saying it and Saudis are categorically denying it. And I will say one thing, final point. The other thing I find deeply disconcerting is that the diplomats that I speak to say, and bear in mind, these are European diplomats expressing shock at this phenomenon. They said, when we talk to our Saudi counterparts, they don't bring up Gaza. They talk to us about NEOM and Vision 2030. We bring up Gaza in the conversation. And we're a bit surprised about this. And that's why I think that one of the reasons Israel has continued its offensive, in my opinion, and this is my responsibility, I'm saying it, I'm not saying it reflects the opinion of anybody at Deen Show or the like. I think one of the reasons is that Saudi and UAE privately are telling the Israelis, go get them. If it's Hamas, go get them. Hamas officials, some of them are in prison in Saudi Arabia. If you open Al Arabiya or Saudi media or UAE media, you could be forgiven for believing that it is Israeli media. The way that they blame the Palestinians, the way that Saudi commentators online are calling Palestinians ingrates, the way they are saying that it's their fault, that they shouldn't have done it, as if somehow they should have just sat there and waited for Jenin to be annexed by the Israelis. Really, you sort of feel like the rhetoric coming out is one that lends itself to the suggestion that when Netanyahu said, we thank our friends for understanding, those friends he was talking about were Muslim nations, not the Western nations.
Last question here. On the premise that, and this is what Islam teaches us, the Quran revealed by the Creator of heavens and earth, that all human life